Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another photo mishmash. This one being broadcast live May 13th, 2020. And I'm going to call it we're back. We skipped a week last week, and I'm so glad to be back again and joined by my good friends, David Carr and Steve Scurich. Guys, how are you doing?
Good.
I should have said, David Carr, how are you doing? And then we'll
That's
say
all right,
Steve.
man. No, it's all right.
That was a bad handoff.
I never like to go first, but
putting you on the spot.
That's all right, man. No, I'm good though. Thank you. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, just life moves on. In some way, shape, or form, but doing pretty well though. Been trying to stay busy, just around the house as usual, like I have been, and then but then trying to find something photographically to keep myself moving, and it comes and goes.
Nice. Steve, how are you? Your turn.
Well, first of all, one of the things that you can tell by watching this broadcast right now is you can tell which states are opening up earlier, because my hair it's all kind of hidden. Like, it's ridiculously long, but I kind of matted it all down with some gel. Toby, your hair is looking like it did in 2012. And
that's so accurate.
David Carr's down there in Georgia that opened up pretty early. Dude, you have a nice, sweet, clean haircut.
I got it yesterday, and I got to say, I texted I go to a stylist. I don't go to a barber. I should go to a barber, but I don't know. It's a throw
band, guys.
We were pampered, man. Nails and the whole no. But I go to a stylist, and I texted the other day to say, are you taking any appointments? Because I knew that some of the salons were, and she said yes, but it's very limited and like total spacing out, masks, the whole deal. They had to tell me when to walk in, and so it was very cautious. I felt like this is no different than going to the grocery store, which we all have to do anyway. So I appreciated the level of caution that there was, and I just needed it, man. It was like I probably would have bowed out of this show if I had not gotten a haircut.
It was great.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
You do definitely. Yep. Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm doing good. It was a good couple of weeks, actually. I missed you guys. Taking 1 week off in this quarantine time definitely feels like we've been out for a long time. But I've had a number of homes to shoot, which makes me feel really, really good. It gives me some purpose and stuff, and because the market's picking up, so it's been pretty good.
Great.
Still. Complain all I want, but it was a decent week, I suppose.
Good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. And let's welcome the chat room. Chat room, thank you so much for joining us once again. We are streaming live to YouTube and Facebook. And as a couple of you have asked how it works on Facebook, I honestly don't know. But
I have yet to log into Facebook and watch the comments. So sorry, folks.
But the comments, if you guys are looking in StreamYard, which is what we use for this, you should see an aggregate of all of the comments. But when we post there, I don't believe they go back to Facebook because Facebook's API doesn't allow that. So Facebook people, you might feel like we're ignoring you. You might make an incredibly pithy comment and none of us respond, in the chat to it. We just can't. Sorry.
There you go. You know what, though? I'm going to say something about Facebook Live Chat because it's being used all the time now. If you're David Carr and you're sitting in your backyard and you're just talking to people and you say, hey, what's up? And you give a call out, that's awesome. That's great. But we've been watching church services online, and I can't, and I AirPlay it on my television, and it even has this option to turn the chat off, but it keeps popping back on. But what drives me absolutely nuts is when they go to live sections and people giving a big presentation to thousands of people online are calling people out based on comments.
Oh my gosh.
It seriously drives me nuts.
That's awesome. Wow.
That sounds annoying.
If you are hosting, it's probably good that we're ignoring the chat room on Facebook Live because then we don't have this ticker going on where we're constantly stopping the show to call people out. But so hello, Facebook. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Hello, Facebook, wherever you are.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So maybe we should talk a little bit about some of the stuff in this show, just to tease. One, I have my picks for crappy gear awards. You know, this is stuff that I've either reviewed, or actually you should say, if you watch my reviews, you probably think, well, he's a nice guy. He kind of likes everything. That's because I really only review the stuff I really like, because I think then it's worth everybody else's time to learn about it and maybe possibly adopt it into theirs. There's a lot of stuff that I get that just is crap. For instance, this looks like a little lens, doesn't it? Well, stay tuned to our crappy gear section to find out exactly what it is and just how craptacular it is.
Well, how much coffee does it hold is what I want to
Yeah.
None at all.
Okay, good.
Does the lens cap come off? Oh, the lens cap does come off.
I have some lenses. I think I have some lenses I would rather pour coffee into than.
Yeah. I've been witness to that, Toby. When you were moving, you had a bunch of stuff pulled out from your office that you kind of had collected and stored away through the years. And you're like, yeah, go ahead and go through that stuff. Let me know if there's anything you want. You can, you know, I'll sell it to you for a cheap price. And I did end up buying an iPhone gimbal from you.
Oh, that's right.
That is still in use.
Yep.
And I think it's great. But you had a bunch of just crap that companies do that.
Yeah. I mean, well, why did I move with this? This is totally crap. I think maybe I knew in the middle of a pandemic in 4 years, I would need something fun to talk about. And I think that was it.
That's what it was.
Today's the day.
Yeah. So you guys are going to share some of your own ideas. The MacBook 13-inch was announced last week, and we didn't have the show last week. We didn't get to talk about it. I'm pretty disappointed. And I want to share a little bit why. And Steve, maybe have you talk me down from considering Adele.
Adele? Oh, whoa.
A space Dell, not Adele the singer.
Oh yeah,
I think she's still great.
I was going to say she's lovely. She's just quite lovely. Awesome. I don't know what you don't like about Adele.
Yeah,
but I mean, I was disappointed in the 13-inch, but not to the I want to jump over to Windows.
Okay, all right, let's chat about it. Let's chat about it a little bit more. And plus, we got tons more stuff, including Photo Enthusiast Network users. You've sent pictures in. We're going to be looking at those and reviewing them. But let's move on to the segment of the show where we just kind of catch up. We've been doing that. But now let's specifically talk a little bit about maybe what we've been up to. And David Carr, I'm going to make you go first because I know you've been up to at least 2 videos since we last checked in.
Yeah, well, I was late getting my last one out. I can't remember what the holdup was, but those videos are not exactly easy to make. They look easy, but there's a lot of like I've noticed as I speak into this microphone for 40 minutes straight, my throat's getting all scratchy and like I start to cough. So I've got to edit all that stuff out, but then I got to remember where I was like, okay, 5 minutes ago when I had a coughing attack, and it's not COVID. It's just, pollen. I don't think it is, but it's all, it's everything else. But like, then I got to remember where I was. So I'm having a lot of, I'm gaining a lot of appreciation for people like yourself, Toby, who do videos a lot and have to, you want to be professional. You want it to flow. You don't want it to be boring. You want it to keep people's attention. But yeah, that's been fun. And I think I'm going to maybe break for the next video that I do. I might do just like a review of my gear, like not like review, but just here's what I use. Here's what I like about it. Here's the stuff I have owned that I didn't love so much. Maybe just kind of go through that because I know that a lot of people do like to hear that. But at the same time, I've gotten great feedback from these videos. I think I had several people the other day say, I never would have known that I could just, I did some stuff in Photoshop, a little more heavy lifting than I've done in some of the previous videos. And I just was showing some people some ways to create layers, simple layers, nothing crazy. And it was cool. I was very encouraged to see the feedback from people who were like, "Oh, that's so cool! I never would have known to do that." So that's what they're there for.
Well, I got a question for you. I noticed in this most recent one here, all black background.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention that.
How'd you do this? This is pretty fancy.
I didn't even mention that. I totally meant to mention that. I forgot. I have this huge Lastolite spring. It like springs open. This big backdrop that I use for headshots and stuff. One side's white, the other's black. And I just put it behind where I am right now. But I had to put it so close to me because this lens is pretty wide. So, but I thought I'll try it to get rid of the distractions. We'll see. I might continue to do it. What do you think?
It caught my attention.
Yeah.
But I do think I like your office view.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Because I almost wondered if it was a green screen.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
But But this advice comes way back. I don't think you've met Corey Rowe. He's
no.
a past client of our McKay. He is a videographer and producer, and he had advice for my channel ages ago.
Yeah,
that was to have a fairly interesting, have a little bit more going on in the background.
Yeah,
that just gives people a little bit of an environment to kind of latch onto.
No, I could see that. I think my takeaway was I don't know that I want to do that again. I thought I'd give it a try, but
it's pretty cool though. It's well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's cool. And yeah, Corey's comments to you, Toby, kind of launched the whole chicken wire and roach clip days. Grain of salt. I love Corey to death, but I don't think he did what he was talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, yeah. I mean, I thought about sprucing up the office a little bit to make it a little more like the lighting and stuff, because I just have these blinds behind me that I always have to close, and so. But who knows? We'll get there.
Yeah. And just to hit on the meat of your video, you're editing this fantastic little penguin walk-in shot.
Thank you.
From Antarctica. So again, tell people, go look at that. Show notes are right down below this video. One of the things I wanted to tease, actually, I forgot, is that there's a lot of fake news going on out there, a lot of viral misinformation, and I just can't take it anymore. And there's something I have to correct that somebody posted recently. So stay tuned to the end of the show for that. But again, the reason I started talking about this is David Carr's YouTube channel, and the link to this How I Edit Video is right down below in the notes. So go check that out. You bet. And Steve, you mentioned that you've been shooting a few houses. I saw a beautiful picture on Instagram this morning from you, or is it posted yesterday? I'm not sure when.
Yeah, that was this morning, actually. So I did a shoot 2 days ago, and one of the things, it was in Kentucky, and I haven't shot any homes in Kentucky yet. It was over in Bellevue, Kentucky, which is by Covington, right across the river from us. So I've been doing a lot of stuff around Cincinnati, and this one took me over to Kentucky, and the owner, this guy that I know, he flips houses, and his realtor said, hey, would it be possible to grab some Welcome to Bellevue generic shots? And there was a park down at the end of the block. So anytime there's something interesting around a property that I'm shooting, I will go down and take pictures of that and maybe use it as part of the marketing material. So I thanked him, and I went around, I took some pictures of signs, and I found myself right down at Newport on the Levee, which is right across the river from Cincinnati. And if you go a little further, you get to this bridge that I took a picture of. And I think it's just a beautiful bridge. It's really
gorgeous.
And you've got the Red Stadium on the right side, and you've got the Bengal Stadium over there on the left side. And so I just quickly ran over. There was this construction zone. I wasn't really supposed to be there, I don't think, but I just ran over with my tripod, lined this up, took a shot, and went home. And the original picture obviously looks nothing like this. It's not a sky replacement or anything, but I did color up the sky, and I straightened out a bunch of angles and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was kind of fun because I hadn't really shot Cincinnati before, and I found myself on the other side of the river, able to look over at our.
That's awesome. It's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, it's been shooting homes. I've got my mother-in-law here for about a month. She came 2 nights ago, and that's a great thing. We love Renee's mom, and so we're super stoked to have her here with us. And that's about it, really. It's nice to be working.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'm not doing too much. I'd love to have twice the number of homes that I'm shooting, but at least I got something to shoot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So content that I've started putting out, I mentioned this when we last had a show. I'm doing now these quick little 1 minute Monday minute, but they end up being just a few minutes longer than a minute, but not much. And so far they've been Lightroom tips. So last week I talked about the Alt key modifier. The Alt key, holding that down in several different places in Lightroom can really offer some kind of nice advantages. Let's just say that. So you can go check that out. And then this most recent Monday, I talked a little bit more about presets. Let's say you find yourself often adding a slight vignette to your pictures to kind of finish them off. Instead of going down to the vignette panel, why not just create a preset that one click does a light vignette? And then if you find yourself sometimes doing a heavy vignette, create 2 presets, one for light, one for heavy. And then it's just a single click to apply that. And you could do that with sharpening. You could do that with skies for, warmer colors. There's a lot of options there. I think I feel like presets have gotten a bad rap in the last couple of years because everybody wants to sell you their presets, and so many of them don't do very much. But you can clean up your presets. I show you how to do that too, and then have a couple that speak to exactly the kind of editing you do. So I sure.
What about I'm selling my white vignette presets. If anybody wants to buy them.
Yeah.
I'm first in line to buy that one.
Again, the joke I make in the workshops always is, now you've just made my parents' wedding photos from 1973, 72. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Good. I should totally.
Mom, I love you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm going to do a whole commercial for my white vignette presets by David Carr Photography.
No.
Let me know how that one goes.
Thing is, it'll probably sell.
It'll be a short.
I'll be like, I'm rich, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, it might, because we're going to talk about, crappy gear later on. And I have a piece of crappy gear that has made a guy a fortune, but I didn't like it. So
I think I might know what it is. And it was something that I personally considered talking about myself. I'm so excited to see if I'm right.
Yeah, you're probably right. The hint, the password is Tupperware. All right.
Yep.
Leave it there.
Gosh.
Totally. I've been stuck in an elevator with that guy. It's not much fun. And one other thing, that last Thursday evening, we had our first episode of the Creative Lounge. David, Allie, and I sat down and chatted with Mike Tedesco. He's a action and performance photographer here. He actually is kind of a neighbor of mine. He lives about 45 minutes away. I've never met him personally. I was excited about that interview. And then halfway through, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm having a blast. Once we got rolling and started to get some questions, the chat room, you've asked great questions. I found it really a lot of fun. And if you haven't watched, go check that out. It's on our channel. And I'm excited that we're going to be doing another one next Thursday, not tomorrow, but the following Thursday. I believe that's the 28th, 27th. Let's check the calendar real quick. Oh, you know what? I have it right here. We'll be with Timothy Drury. He is a keyboardist of, he has been the keyboardist for the Eagles, where he played with Don Felder and the Eagles. And he is an amazing kind of artist. Let's use that broad category, because not only is he an amazing photographer, but he also puts on this cool performance art where he's playing music in a box, synced up to kind of a light show, including his photos. And just a really cool, interesting dude. And we're going to be talking to him next Thursday, episode 2. I believe we run these at 6 p.m. I'll get the full official announcement out soon, but I'm excited for that, because they're kind of, it's a laid back. It's a little like this format here, but we're talking to somebody who's a genius in their field. Not Steve, that you or David Carr are not a genius, or myself.
Oh man, I get it.
So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's everything to cover right now. I will say I'm still working on the Sony 20mm review. I don't know why it's taking me forever, but the short of that lens is, it's a very nice lens, but there are alternatives that, are a third of the price that are also very nice. That's kind of what I'm struggling with. Like, yeah, it's better. And if somebody gave me $1,000, yeah, that's the lens I would buy. But
your review's done. Just clip out that segment and throw it out.
There you go. Yeah.
I should try that. All right.
There's a lot of third-party options that are a lot cheaper and save your money, go on a trip.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes when I think about like the technology that's behind that stuff, it's not like the folks at Sony or Nikon or Canon are just like these geniuses, and the companies that are making the third parties are just morons. They all kind of swim in the same circles of knowledge and technical expertise. And they just, I mean, obviously some are better than others, but the thing is, and when we get to this crap gear section of a segment of the show, I'll just say this now, is like almost everything out there is kind of awesome at some level. There's just the fact that it can do what it can do. And so sometimes we're splitting hairs, aren't we? I mean, just between like the most minute amount of difference in this one versus that one. Sometimes we're not, but I think oftentimes we are.
I agree.
All right, let's dive into the part of the show. I think we all enjoy this a lot. You Pen members have sent in pictures. We're going to look at them, give you some feedback, and share some tips and tricks for editing in Lightroom. Occasionally we jump over to Photoshop, but usually we could finish what we need in Lightroom. All right, so first up, we've got Sue Stevens' Covered Bridge. And this is nice. You know, the repeating pattern of the X's and then the totally different shape down on the ground from the shadow is what really grabs your attention and leads you down to that kind of open-ended bit of bridge there.
Yes.
The end of the bridge. Steve, you're our architecture guy. Would you go into Transform and work on this?
Just slightly. So what I would do, go ahead and go into Transform, and I always start by clicking Auto just to see what it keeps getting better and better. Okay, obviously that was horrific. All right. So the part of this that really needs to be squared up, both horizontally and vertically, is the end where the bridge is exiting. So go to Guided and just use your 4 lines or even 3 lines and just draw, right there, boom, and then 2 vertical lines, and that will square up that exit area, and you'll be in good shape. So I would start with that, and then, that looks great. And then what I would do with this photo is I would go black and white for sure, because the yellow tones, the light green tones, and then you got the blue tones of the sky. They're also they're in these little peekaboo areas, and they're not significant enough that they really mean anything. They're distracting. So I would process this as a black and white. I would do away with all of the stuff that's on the roof in the far right. And
you darken that.
Yeah, I would just darken that out of there so you don't even see it. Let the story be. Somebody just put a comment up. Tim Scott. We were talking about something else, but he said keep it simple. And that's just a good segue into what we're doing now. Is when you're shooting something like this, it already lends itself to being a pretty simple photograph where the lines tell the story. So just simple as possible. And like David Carr always says, if you were going to paint this scene, would you include these little, bits of light up there with the roof? And for me, I wouldn't. I like it to be a little bit surreal, a little obscure. Let the viewer kind of look at this and at first say, what am I even looking at? And then they'll put together that it's a bridge.
Would you take out the glimpse over here on the right?
So it's a good question. I was kind of debating that, and I would check it out both ways. So initially I said yes, I would want that taken out of there, and I'd want the little smudges up on the roof and the floorboards taken out. And I say that because there's not a lot of it included over there on that right-hand side. It's not that there's so little that it has to go, but there's also not a whole lot that it isn't part of a story that ends abruptly. So yeah, I mean, that looks kind of cool taking that out of there. I would take it out probably.
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks nice.
Yeah, and I'm just doing a quick sloppy job here, but and you need to fix this up here a little bit more just to give people the idea. But just to give the idea. Yeah, I think those are good improvements.
Definitely.
Anybody bothered by a couple of the light spots coming in on the floor?
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely don't. There's just not enough there to. That's kind of what Steve was saying about the ceiling. Like if the ceiling if like more was showing and it was like prominent, then of course you would have kept that. But when it's just such a minimal amount of information, it's a distraction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, do you like this being full shadow? Are you okay with that, or would you like a little more detail in there?
Yeah, I like the negative space, and that's part of the reason why going black and white can work when you're dealing with space, because people are used to seeing black in a black and white photograph, so it plays nicely. If you left it color and that was just shadowed out, it wouldn't really work.
Yeah, I had a thought too when you suggested going to black and white, and it makes a lot of sense. I think you have to think of your photos in like, what is the thing that's drawing the most impact? And so at this point, it really is like the architectural, geometric kind of elements of this, where you kind of like, you're drawn to just that more than anything. So color is inconsequential to the photo at this point. It's just, there's not enough of it there. Even if it was, well, I guess, there could be a situation where this could have like vivid colors all throughout, and then it might be really interesting. But I think we have to ask ourselves, like, what is it? What is the impact of this photo? And how can I accentuate that? And anything that takes away from that, let's minimize, you know?
Yeah.
So
one last thing. If you use the crop tool and just freeform crop, I want to see what this looks like. Pull it in from the left side until the leading line goes right to the lower left corner. Yep, right there. And then come down from the top to, that other corner right there. Let's take a look at that. I don't know. Nice. I kind of liked it both ways, but that's just, I want people to realize you should really pay attention to what's happening in all your corners.
Yes.
And there's a lot of places to go with this. Yeah, that's pretty cool right there, I think.
Yeah, that actually looks pretty nice to me.
Yeah, we
it's
like
at least having one of the leading lines coming out straight out of a corner, I think helps.
Yeah. And Roy, was it Roy? Yeah, says it needs a white vignette. I couldn't agree more.
Oh, most definitely.
You ask. There we go.
Oh my God!
Look what happened. Look, it gets so lumpy because of the. That's really actually kind of interesting that it's not layered on top of those changes we made up there.
Yeah.
It's because no one ever uses it.
Let's submit a bug report. So Adobe goes, what?
We don't advertisement to never ever use a white vignette, and I just don't know how we're going to get through to you.
Yeah.
They should just have it where when you slide it to the right, like your computer crashes.
It slapped your hand. I will say there has been one or two times I've gone to the right with night sky pictures where I felt like there's been a heavy vignette on the lens I was using, and going one or two to the right, literally just one or two, just kind of takes that away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there are situations where I've just dabbled with it, but
yeah. I mean, now, Toby, you're talking about how, like, you'll mess with temperature and tint to offset the opposite. Like, you go a little warmer to tone down the blues, or you go a little bit more on the red to tone down the greens. So, yeah, if you use a white vignette to tone down some of the black vignetting that's happening, then that is allowable. Yeah. But you kind of got to know what you're doing at that point, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sue. Let's move on. Kevin Walk's got, what is this, sunrise, sunset? What do we got going on here, Kevin? This has got some pretty colors to it.
Say about this one.
A sunset.
Well, we know it's not 2 in the afternoon, so.
Should be.
Well, unless it's like in the Arctic or something.
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't look like the Arctic.
I'll say after taking in this nice colorful scene, I think there's a lot to like here. But one of the things that my eye keeps getting drawn to is a nice big footprint right here in the foreground. That doesn't seem like it's part of a story. You know, if we had one of those stories of the, the feet off into the distance, the little quote or something like that. So I wonder if we just come up a bit from that, if it gets maybe up to here, and then I'm going to use Q to get rid of this other one a little bit. Let's see what we get there. And then the other thing that I'm thinking is the sky is beautiful, but there's a point at which not much else happens in the sky, right? Somewhere around here. Then we have too wide. So maybe.
Well, you could even come in from the right too, because there's like a little bit of a hill that I think almost is unnecessary.
Yeah. What if we come in? What about right around there?
Oh boy.
Too much?
Yeah, I didn't think it needed to come up from the bottom very much. Just to eliminate those footprints, or put a meme on there that the sand people ride single file to hide their numbers.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, good Star Wars reference.
But what's curious about this is the horizon is straight, but then all that foreground area, you almost have to show quite a bit of it, because if you come in too tight, it makes the whole thing look just off kilter, like crooked.
Yeah.
So you can see the curvature of it if you show a little bit more of that foreground. But I totally agree that coming down from the top, because the sky just kind of loses interest after a while. But you guys know that I'm going to tell you to flip this thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. Actually, I'm actually intrigued to see what it will look like flipped, actually. So,
That's a nice flow of that water there, right out of the corner, leads us off into the image.
Mhm.
Yeah. Chat room. What is chat room thinking about this?
Well, they all. I put a comment out there, flip it, and they all said that I beat them to it. Same thing, but and again, for those that this has kind of become a running joke. I like to flip things so you get that leading line going left to right. But you cannot do that on a really famous spot that other people are going to know that this is not the way it's laid out. But I think with this scene right here, you can totally get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you were on the moon and you were taking a picture of the Earth, you wouldn't want to flip that because then America would be backwards. It just would be, everyone would know that you flipped.
Everybody would know it was a soundstage in Hollywood.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. That's good. Let's move on. Caitlin just gets points because we got a cute old sugar-faced golden retriever there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. The first thing I notice is I feel like the dog's face is just a little too bright. Yeah. So I'm going to overall exposure, I'm going to bring down a tiny bit, and then highlights, I'm going to bring down a tiny bit more.
Yep. Oh, look at that cute puppy.
Yeah, he's cute. Great eye contact from both subjects.
Yeah.
Fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else?
I'd love to see what a square image looks like where you just really just hone in on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or vertical, but square.
Yeah. Definitely fill the frame with this because all the other stuff is just, all you want to do is focus on, I don't know who this is, but the girl and the dog and the cool view on her arm and stuff like that. Like that is the story right there. Everything else is just a visual distraction.
Yeah, and maybe at this point go to 8x10 vertical because you could really just get in on like there's so much visual interest in eyes and glasses and tattoo and Yeah.
Even coming in tight like this, you're not cutting anything out that's important to the story.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love that. As a portrait photographer, that's just, I'm almost guilty of zooming in too much sometimes or cropping in too much because sometimes there is visual interest outside of the subject. But in this case, it's all blurred out anyway, and it's just texture. And I just think we really just want to see those cute puppy eyes and its owner, adoring it. And that's the subject.
Yep. You guys, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was going to say, a lot of times too, when we're playing around with different apertures and we see this really cool bokeh and stuff blurred out in the background, we want to include that because it's supposed to add depth. And in some cases it does. But in this case, like you don't need a whole lot of background there. This little bit and it's all blurred out. It looks great. It creates depth and you can tell the three-dimensionality of this photo. Also, Kevin Walk commented a black vignette at 20-ish%. I agree with that. I think a black vignette right here, taking it down to that 15, 20.
Yeah. I hit 26, I think.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. Anywhere in there is good. One thing I want to make note, you guys probably can't quite tell this. This was shot wide open with the 50, and the woman's face isn't as sharp. The focus is on the dog. So I'd say just be careful when you're shooting portraits. If you don't have your subjects perfectly lined up at those wider focal lengths, you're going to get a little bit softer. So maybe F2 would have been good here, or to bring the woman's face forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
You could even shoot this probably at an F4 MB and still create that soft background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so. All right. That's a great segue. Soft backgrounds to Tanya's frog macro. Yeah. I love it. Wow. Love it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I got nothing.
That's, what do you got? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so, it's funny. Let's just use this as a teaching moment. I think this is a fantastic image as well. This is shot at f8. But of course, with a macro, this is a 150 millimeter macro lens. Even at f8, at these close focusing distances, you can see just how soft the background is. It's indistinguishable. I like that we have a little bit of color down here. I think if it was solid green, it would feel maybe either fake or just a little less interesting. But we have just
well,
it
makes you wonder like where, like what else was around this. It just it
Mhm.
draws you right into the subject, and then but you know there was context, but you don't know exactly what it was. And yeah, it's very well executed. You know,
Yep.
I don't know.
Literally have nothing other than this is just such a cool shot.
It really is. It really is.
It's positioning composed, and I think the aperture. What did you say? It was f8 with.
It's f8. Yep.
It looks good. You can see the fall off real quickly from the frog's face to the left little hand or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Like the focus is right where it needs to be, and I love how that orange kind of fades into green as you travel left to right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I'll just say, I don't know if we'll get to it this show, but I've linked in the show notes to award-winning images. So I was looking through those earlier. It's like the big picture contest, and they're all different animal ones. And I think this one could be right there with those. It's just such a sharp, clean shot. I love not just the frog, tree frog, but also just that curl of the fern still happening, and just enough of the sharp focus on part of that to really get a sense of its macroness.
She said that frog was the size of her thumbnail. That's incredible.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. Very
Incredible.
cool. Very cool.
Looks so wise.
It is a wise frog.
I want to know what its name is. Okay. Let's move on. Jeremy's got a female Rufous hummingbird.
Oh, wow.
And this is a very sharp shot too. If you get in here, we could see, I love just a little bit of the eye there. And that's where the focus is.
Yeah.
I don't have metadata for this, so I'm not sure. At the very end of the Southwest trip, Fiona and I went to this little park, and we were looking for burrowing owls. We struck out, but we did have this hummingbird that was just demanding to be photographed. And in my pictures, I'm a little bummed that the tip, as he let us get closer and closer, I didn't adjust my aperture. And some of my favorite pictures, the tip of his beak is just out of focus. And I see, Jeremy, the same thing has happened to you here. And I think I would like it all to be sharp. When we look at Tanya's picture, definitely not all of the frog is sharp, and the eye is, and I didn't have any issue with that. So maybe I'm being too picky here, because you got the eye in focus, which I think is the most important part. Either of you guys have an opinion about that?
Well, I'm kind of wondering philosophically, thinking like, because I know what you mean. Like I didn't have as much of a problem with it with the frog photo, and maybe it's because knowing the frog was such a small creature, you could tell, even though I didn't know it was that small, you could tell it was a very small creature on a very small fern, branch. So with a bird, like sometimes I think when you know the scale and the sort of size of something, you want to see more of it in focus. Like you want to see I shot it when we were in Tanzania. There were two little baboons or something that were sitting next to each other, and one of them's perfectly in focus and the other one's slightly out of focus. And I won't use the shot because I just. But now there might have been some other thing where one thing would be in focus and the other's not, where I might not have cared as much if it was smaller. I don't know. Sometimes things just look more right, and we don't know why. But I know what you're saying here. And I can't see this photo the way you can, Toby. But if just judging from what you're saying, yeah, you do kind of want to see it all in focus if you can, or at least the head.
Yeah.
What I would love to see with this picture, though, focus aside, is to get in a freeform crop again, Toby. Because one of the problems that I have with this picture is there's a lot of stuff going on, and then I'm very distracted by the green moss on the branch. It's kind of it's a visual distraction from. I want to know what the bird is looking at, so I want to kind of fill the frame with that story. Yeah, so I come in from left to right, really tight on the bird. There you go, and then same on the right side. Nope, I keep it tall.
Keep it tall, okay.
And then come in really tight on the right side, and then come up from the bottom. So you almost have this 16:9 ratio where the bird is looking way up, and you've got some sticks up there, and you maybe kind of clean that up a little bit up there in Photoshop. But just a consideration of how to tell a story with what you have. I just think that he's dead center. He's looking at something, but there's a lot of other stuff going on around him, and I'm just kind of getting lost in all the other stuff, and I want to focus in on what's that bird looking at here.
Yeah, Yeah, I hear you. I just real quick trying to soften that up there a little bit and see if what we get. I was gonna disagree with you because I kind of like the splash of green in the moss, but then once I pulled into that, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are different ways because I had thought about just keeping the moss and the bird, doing more of a a horizontal crop. And I know he's in the right third looking up.
I like that.
Yeah, I've been noticing because I know a lot of times we tell people like if the animal or the person is in the third and they're looking away from the frame, like it's weird because now there's like all this space to the left or right. But for some reason, I've been noticing in a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff like that lately where they're using the rule of thirds and the person's looking not towards the center of the frame, but like their head is, if that makes sense, like they're looking off. And I'm like, well, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would that they shot it that way. And maybe in motion picture, it's different, but I don't know.
Creating tension. Actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just, it's all subjective, but
yeah. And in this case, although the reason I think that I like that crop better, Toby, that horizontal one you did, green is included, which is cool, but it's not quite as distracting. But really, although the bird is pointed looking up, the eye is actually off to the left.
Yeah.
So I think visually that just feels better.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I think that looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like he's kind of looking up at you and going, "What's up, cuz?" or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She keep it straight.
Sorry.
And I mean, you just throw a white vignette in there and you're done.
Oh my goodness.
Is that the new? So if Steve says flip it or add a white vignette, you all have to drink.
Black and white, flip it, white vignette, you're done.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Good. Thanks, Penn folks, for submitting those. If you're watching this and you're not a Penn member, consider joining. We have a great deal right now, photorec.tv/Penn for new members. And you can submit images. And I still have some that I need to get to from the general public, and I haven't deleted those. I will get to them at some point, I hope. Speaking of drinking, gentlemen, are you drinking anything today? I skipped over that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I poured some black and neat like a couple weeks ago, mainly to go with my T-shirt, even though it's metallic whiskey. They tore together.
Got it.
Good. I'm glad, Steve, because you had a water bottle a second ago, and I was like, man, I'm the only one that has like.
Oh, this is a vodka chaser.
Great. Well, I've got my dirty martini again.
Very good. Very good. I'm a little boring today. I got more work this afternoon than I want. So just some tea.
It's all right,
man.
Some
tea here. Yeah. Thanks.
Somebody's got to be the DD.
That cocktail that smelled like dirty feet or whatever you had last time. What?
the kombucha mule. What was it? What's the mule?
Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule with kombucha. It was very good. Chris made me another one the next night or something when we had a virtual happy hour with folks, and it was quite good. It was. Okay. An update. So a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I saw the most perfect Lego set that I needed, right? We all remember talking about this. Let me get back where I can see.
Permanent segment of the show. This is 3 weeks in a row or 3 episodes in a row.
Look, it's arrived. And how did I get it? Because I have some awesome fan friends.
Great.
So the guy that I mentioned, Alan Rappa, and again, his Instagram is linked in the show notes. And let me just share real quick his Instagram because it's just full of awesome stuff. Let's see here.
Because I was serious. I was going to shop for that and ship it to your house, and I totally dropped the ball. So thank you to Toby's fans for picking up my slack.
Where can I find him now? I said it's linked. I could have. There we go. Yeah. So this is Alan. He also is one of the toyphotographers.com team, and it just does all of these are his pictures. I love the ones with the sparks and stuff. And of course, it was this one that caught my attention.
I'm literally going to go follow this guy right now.
Yeah, it's great. And
Alan Rappa.
Alan Rappa.
Pretty awesome.
Rappa. And I didn't notice this until the set came in. The little dude has a Band-Aid on his face too. It's just absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
Which, the Lego guys just shout out to those guys for basically thinking of me when they built this.
That's pretty awesome.
I have never cut my face though, only my finger with a drone. So I'll just say that. And it was very minor. So I've been quite lucky, but I have had this experience. And inspired somewhat by Alan, I thought, well, I should take this outside and get a shot or two of it. Mine are honestly a little embarrassed to share them when we've just looked at Alan's. But here, I just took it out into the bushes. And sorry, give me a second to share better than what I'm sharing. I need to stop and then share and share. There we go. First shot. And this is very accurate. Same kind of bush thing in Croatia or Mongolia.
Oh, wait, this is the Lego, huh? I thought this was a shot from Croatia.
If I was thinking today, I started and then I got distracted to go find that footage from Croatia. I have all of that. The drone is just flying, beautiful view of the harbor, and then a lot of pine needles all of a sudden. And my favorite part is the fact that somehow the drone like makes it back out of the tree at first. And I just think the drone is thinking, oh, that was close. But then me, still not knowing what was going on, backed it into the tree again. And then the drone is just like, oh, sugars. And it gave up. So there's my pictures. And I'm going to try to take a few more. But Alan, thanks so much for sending this along. I really appreciate it. And love your Instagram and toyphotographers.com. Oh, that does remind me. Steve, go to toyphotographers.com and let me pull it up as well. There is a perfect picture for you on there as well.
Toy Photographers.
Oh, let's see if it's still on there. I don't know how active their feed is. Yes, here it is. Checking in from quarantine. I'll share it right here.
You're up to some porn site, are you?
No. What do you think? I'm Dave McKay.
Toy Photographers is a little.
Right here. Look up, Steve. Who's that?
Oh, it's Bob Ross.
Amazing.
That's right.
Boy.
That's right. So
a very handsome Bob Ross.
That don't know this, every year, this is kind of, he doesn't even know it, I think, but Carr has sparked a tradition now. Every year for his birthday,
really,
I take a picture of him and I Photoshop it onto Bob Ross's face. And
that's true. You do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And because his analogy that I use on almost every tour is, if you're to paint the scene, would you leave that in? And so I look at Dave Carr and I just think of Bob Ross.
That's so funny. Well, I got to say, when I do these little editing videos, the first couple I did, people were like, it reminds me of Bob Ross. And like, okay, cool. I mean,
grow out that fro, man. You just
yeah. You know what? I was on that path and I cut it off yesterday.
Interesting note about Bob Ross is that he actually did not like that hair at all.
I heard that.
Yeah, but it was kind of like his trademark, so he ended up sticking with it.
Man, I feel like he could have changed the trademark at some point and probably still been kicking it as a.
Yeah.
I wonder if Fro feels the same. I've never asked him.
I know, right? Because I mean, you might like it at that time, at that style, but then as time goes on, it's like looking back at 70s photos or something, and or white vignetting. And you decide, no, that is just, I'm sick and tired of this. That is curious about Fro. I wonder if
I've wondered the same thing, because I mean that's like his whole persona.
And if he'd shave that, he'd probably lose a third of his audience.
Yeah,
they're only there for the fro.
Yeah, I mean, crew cut nose photo just doesn't sound flow off the tongue.
Yeah. Pancake. He's got a little T on his shirt for Toby. Maybe I should even reach out to Lego and see if they want me to do a little work with them to promote this.
Well, you know what you should do?
Tell me.
You should promote Alan to Lego, because I don't want to take away from your photography Lego skill, but I got on his Instagram page. I'm following the guy now. Like, dude, he's legit, man. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I think you got about 6 months to a year of practice before you start reaching out to Lego for yourself.
10,000 hours, right?
That's right, man.
Yeah. Toy photography for the next 10,000 hours, and maybe I'll get close.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's hit some other news stories real quick. One more drone-related news story I heard last week. A Latvian drone went missing, and they were like, we're a little worried because it has enough fuel for a couple of days.
Whoa.
So
Gosh.
just try, I mean, again, back to Croatia for a moment, not to harp on that too much, but it took us like a good 45 minutes to find that drone, and it basically led me right to it with a little GPS. Imagine if it had been able to keep flying for days.
Gosh.
That would have been bad.
A couple of days though, like
That's crazy.
what is that?
Yeah, I think that the drones that still use standard combustion engine are the champs as far as long-term flights go.
Wow.
I was reading something a couple of weeks ago about that, and that's just, those engines are still incredibly efficient.
I don't even think I've ever even seen one of those. That's cool.
Yeah. Good news in this time of pandemic. Sony Pro has extended the support that they provide for up to 6 extra months. So they recognize that not a lot of photographers are, using their gear, and so that protection and kind of bits of it extra help that provides. They're extending that. That's very nice. Brian Smith has a little bit more information about that. I mentioned the Big Picture Awards. That's on DP Review, and that's linked down in the show notes. There's some cool ones in there that I think you all should take a look at. But we're going to skip over that and mention one other thing before we talk a little bit more about MacBooks. And that is 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Canon EOS utility that Canon had released in beta form that lets some of you use if you have a Windows PC and a certain Canon camera. It was most of the modern ones. You could use it as a webcam. And I know chat, lots of you are trying it, and we're finding good success. Some people are finding it a little buggy. There is now a Mac solution, not from Canon. This actually works with a broader number of cameras, and it will actually turn most modern mirrorless or DSLR cameras into a webcam through the use of free software and a little terminal commands, but not enough to be scary.
That's cool.
That's something you might want to check out if you are looking to up your Zoom game.
So it's only mirrorless though?
No, some DSLRs too.
Okay.
But basically, if your camera supports tethering, and the easiest way to find out whether your camera supports tethering is Capture One Pro offers a nice list of cameras that support that. You don't have to have Capture One Pro, but go to Capture One Pro, look at their list of supported tethered cameras, and then you will know whether these couple of extra steps are worthwhile for you or not.
That's good to know. I've been wondering about that. Like I like this webcam that I have. I mean, this is just built into my computer, but for these videos I'm making, I would like to have something a little more high resolution. And,
is that all you've been using? Your camera webcam? Your computer webcam?
Yeah, this is the iMac Pro. It's a 1080p camera, that's what you're seeing me on, and it's a great little camera. The only problem is you can't go in and do anything to it manually, and I've noticed the lighting will change from time to time. It's like it's constantly adjusting. It's auto exposing. So I'd like to have something a little sharper, 4K, just to shoot with, and then something that I can manage a little bit more on my own. Yeah,
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I'm just curious, Carr, you've got the iMac Pro. Is that webcam upgraded versus the standard iMac?
It is. Yeah, they gave it a upgraded camera and then the speakers, which I don't use the speakers, but they do sound really good when I have used them. So
yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's not on B&H. What I used to use was the Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. That lets you go from USB into Thunderbolt, USB-C, all that stuff. But what I've switched to, because that started giving me some trouble after I've been using that for, 4 or 5 years, is the CamLink 4K from Elgato.
Yeah.
Geez, they're now, see, this is the issue. Everybody's home. Everybody's trying to up their Zoom game. I think I bought it for $90 or maybe 110. And now on eBay, it's listed as 300. And what is it on Amazon? It is completely out of stock.
Yeah, I was looking at it was like a Logitech or something today on like B&H. They have a 4K webcam that looked really great, but it's all out of stock. It was like shipping in late June or something. So
yeah. So I've been really happy with this CamLink. It works great. And I paid $99 for it. So gosh, I wish I bought a couple extra and could resell them now.
Seriously.
Oh well.
Hindsight.
At cost, of course.
And with all the Cottonelle toilet paper down my basement.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's talk a little bit about this new MacBook. Steve, you said you're slightly disappointed too. You want to go first and talk about why?
Well, I don't know a lot about the specifics of the product. I haven't deep dived into researching it, but it was a product that I was kind of interested in. For myself, I'm much more interested in something that's lightweight for travel. So a MacBook Air, when that gets updated, I get pretty excited about replacing my old MacBook Pro. And like you, Toby, mine is 2013, I think, mid 2013 model. So when we get back to traveling again, I do want to update that. And I think a MacBook Air for me is going to be the way to go. The MacBook Pro was, so here's the thing. Apple so far this year has been all about just like slight updates to existing products.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done it with the iPad. They've done it now with a couple of the MacBook. They did it with the MacBook Air. They did it with the MacBook Pro now. Times they did the 16-inch, now the 13-inch. And they did it with the iPhone SE, which I picked up, but that's just a revamped iPhone 8. So my disappointment is in Apple as a whole this year. It's just been, they haven't been very innovative. And supposedly come the fall with the iPhone 12 and then 2021, there's some pretty exciting things coming out. But so far it's just been, revamping old stuff. And I feel the same way about the MacBook Pro. The only good thing about it is the keyboard. They went back to the I forget the names that they assigned these keyboards, but they got away from that butterfly keyboard or whatever that was giving everybody problems.
That was very problematic. I mean, I talked about it 2 weeks ago, fixing my wife's MacBook, and it wasn't a Pro, it was just the MacBook, but it was just the space bar was defective on it. Yeah. And for like a year, and I kept messing with it, and finally it was like, the only way to fix this is to put a whole new keyboard in it. And that's why I took it upon myself. I just bought one on eBay and found it, but put the whole thing in. But yeah, I mean, and I have the 2017 MacBook Pro. Yeah. And I love it, but I've seen no reason to upgrade for a very long time.
Well, it's funny because they had the butterfly keyboard that they came out with, and then they had the version 2, and people still weren't that happy, and now they're kind of back to where they were with more key travel and stuff.
Yeah.
But the other thing, though, too, is that MacBook Pro is kind of segmented into 2 sections. So you can do a budget version, and then why wouldn't you just go to the Air? Or you can do an upgraded version that starts to get expensive really fast. And before you know it, you're in MacBook Pro 16-inch territory with a lot more power for the same price as good, just because you can get it in a 13-inch. It just, I don't understand where this product fits into their offering. You have the Air and you've got the 16-inch with crazy power. Where is this? It's basically, I don't know. I just think that you're going to end up spending a lot of money for something that is just kind of okay.
Yeah, it's always a tough call with that stuff too. I mean, I've been through several MacBook Pros, or back when it was the PowerBook and all that stuff. I at times I've overbought. Like I've bought something I didn't need, and then I realized it later. Wow, this was too much. Like I didn't. But I'm also a believer that when you're going to go ahead and drop $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 or more, like that's the time to not nitpick and be like, well, I can save $50 by not getting this extra RAM, or just load it up and just forget about it. Because I mean, if you're already spending the money, like you don't want to be 2 years from now going, man, if only I'd spent $100 more, I could have twice the hard drive, or twice, unless it's stuff that's upgradable. But there's a point where like you think you're saving yourself a bunch of money, and that's money you're going to forget about very quickly when you wish you had that power. And so that's how they do it. It's like they know, they're not dummies, they know how they engineer this stuff. And
you can get this 13-inch though, you can get it up to $3,000 very fast.
Yeah, I priced one out today, just hypothetically, what would that look like? And yeah, it gets expensive quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Steve, I think you summed it up pretty nicely. I was really hoping that we would see the changes they made in that 15, 16-inch line where there's less bezel and it's truly a redesigned machine. We'd see that down here on the 13-inch and we don't really have that. And so just off screen, as you do, I have a very old 15-inch that has started crashing randomly, more than a couple times a day, hard crashes. And I recently wiped it and reinstalled Catalina on it, and it still does it. So it makes me think it's a hardware issue. And this machine has been used, and I really like it, and it would still be okay for me if it didn't randomly crash. So I might take it to Apple and see what they say, fixing it wise. But really, Steve, as you said, I'm looking for something nice and lightweight on the road, backup photos, a little bit of editing, a little bit of Lightroom teaching, maybe a tiny bit of video editing, but most of that now, the way I work, can wait till I get home.
Yeah.
And the Air almost feels like it would do it. But then I think long term, this machine has continued to work for me for 6 years.
Yeah. Will
an Air work for me for 6 years, or will I find myself in 3 frustrated and replacing it because I've upgraded to a camera like the A7R4 or something with massive files and it just churns to edit those? So
well, that's the dilemma. So in my household, like, so the computer I just repaired of my wife's, it's a 2016 MacBook. And she wanted it because it was rose gold and cute and all that. And so we got it. And it was important. It's very important. But it was a good price and everything. But, well, for Apple standards, it was a good price. But you know, as I've been actually messing with it for the last week, trying to figure out, there's one issue where when I open mail, the CPU skyrockets and the computer crashes and it tells me it's out of RAM and all this. And it's some known glitch in Catalina on some computers. So I've spent the last several days like downgrading it back to Mojave, which was not actually easy. And the reason why is because there's only one USB-C port. There's only one port on the whole computer, except for the headphone jack. So I can't power it and back stuff up at the same time. Trying to do a time machine backup, it says it's going to take like 9 hours. Well, it's going to run out of battery by that point. So I have to get some adapter to plug in my power and so it's just all that, like, I'm like, I wonder if we just bought her a MacBook Pro back then, we would have hated swiping the credit card at the time, but she probably wouldn't be having the same issues, or it would at least be easier to mess with it now, but who knows?
Yeah. The lack of ports is definitely an issue. I love this. Has a built-in SD card reader plus normal USB ports. And that's why I bring up the Dell. They have some normal ports. They have this very bezel-less screen. They are lighter. I didn't put this into an Excel spreadsheet, Steve. I'm sorry to disappoint you. But I did lose my notes. I made notes, and the Dell with its power adapter comes out to be, I think, like 3.5 pounds or maybe 3.1 pounds. And the MacBook comes out with power adapter, comes to 3.6. So then it's just like half a pound of difference. It's actually not that much.
What about a well-equipped Air? What's the weight on?
An Air is 2.8 pounds and its charger is 0.3, about a third. So let's say 3.1. So it's
comparable to the Dell.
Yeah, it's comparable to the Dell. And the Dell is, the prices are very similar. People always say, oh, you can save money, you go PC. Yeah, not a good one though. All right, folks, it's about the same amount of money. I wouldn't really be saving anything, but it would get me a machine that's the spec weight like the Air, but has some decent ports and a nice screen. But then there are things you're giving up on the Mac side, which my comfort and love of Mac, and clearly 6 solid years I've gotten out of this machine.
Yeah,
it's only lately.
That's a big testament to, I mean, if you break that down over what you spent over 6 years, I mean, the cost of ownership, held up against the benefit that you've gotten from it, that's pretty awesome. At some point they do just, they can't keep up with where everything else is, but
so I don't know. To be completely honest with everybody, I'll probably buy a 13-inch here. If when we start to get back to traveling, probably buy a 13-inch MacBook.
It's just too bad. I feel your pain though, Toby, because it's just too bad that because you and I are in the same boat. Granted, we do totally different work, and you need yours for much different reasons than I do. I've kind of entered into because for a long time my MacBook Pro was my primary computer. In fact, my first PPA submissions was all done on my 15-inch MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
But now I do all my big edits are done on my iMac here at home.
Sure.
And then when I travel, I just need something with an external drive that I can use as a backup and answer some emails and some texts and surf the web. And, just it's lightweight and it doesn't get in the way.
Yeah. I could agree with that. I mean, even having the 15-inch MacBook Pro, it's like 2 or 3 years old. I mean, it's overkill. Because when I go on the road, I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and like full on edit my photos on this thing, even though I could. I mean, a lot of people, that's what they use. But I come home and I've got this killer iMac here that I feel like this is where it gets real, is on this iMac, and that's more like getting me. It's like kind of the interim. And so yeah, I mean, if I was going back now, I probably would maybe reconsider or just buy like a used one or a slightly older model and save some money, because there's a point where you don't really need that much power on the road.
Yeah. And that
what I'm bummed about for you though, Toby, is you're kind of at that point where you really do need to upgrade your mobile device or your laptop, and it's just not a very exciting offer with that 13-inch. It's not. I mean, I don't know. They should have done the more bezel-less thing, and it just something exciting with the hardware, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I mean, Apple is not innovating. I think Apple, and the thing is, their stock is going through the roof again, even while everything else is still not great. Apple has a steady. They're steady. They don't always innovate. They don't always come out with the latest, greatest. And when they finally do come out with whatever Samsung has been doing for 2 years, Apple acts like they invented it, which I've always laughed at. Like, look, we have 4K now. Like, yeah, everyone else has been doing, but they do things really, really well they do them. And that's,
I mean, my desktop I replaced 2 or 3 years ago. And the desktop before that I'd had for almost 8 years. And this laptop I'm about to replace, and I've had that for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, that's a testament to it.
There's something to be, and it's nice looking. Like I can take that laptop and set it on a desk, and it doesn't look like some ancient piece of crappy electronic. It's really built very, very well. Really admire that about Apple. But you're right, they tend to take some credit, or I think the fanboys tend to give them credit for things that they really didn't.
Oh yeah, I mean, when the Apple TV 4K came out, they were like, the world in 4K. I'm like, well, the world's been in 4K for the last 4 years, but you're acting like you invented it. And yet they still sold a bunch of them. So
there's a guy in chat named Too Smart, and he's been giving some shout outs to the iPad Pro.
Cool.
I will say that they're starting to really do a good job of blurring those lines. The iPad Pro, and now with, did they finally come out with a full Photoshop from Adobe?
I don't think so. I think they're still, it's been demoed, but I don't think it's out yet. But for me, I mean, I loved the iPad Pro as a consumption device and occasional edit, but for like a machine to back up quickly, I was frustrated with it. It is getting close though. It really is
close. And that magic keyboard thing or whatever that they have, that is killer. But by the time you start adding all the money up, you might as well just, if you're more comfortable with a laptop, then that's what you get.
Yeah. And the weight isn't that much of a savings either when you buy the bigger Pro with the keyboard, is it?
Yeah, no, it's thick and it's heavy. So and I've had my iPad Pro. This is an older one. I think this is probably going on 3 years now, but I use this every day, but mainly for just reading and stuff like that. I don't do any photo stuff on it. It's just
watching your Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Falling asleep to your Star Wars movies.
Nowadays.
David, you mentioned this, and Kevin Walk, I saw in chat, it went by a minute or two ago. Kevin, you said you saved money by buying a broken MacBook on eBay and under warranty still. So I guess somebody didn't want to deal with it, but then you could. And David, you mentioned buying used, which I might consider. Because I bet the savings to value ratio there, since this new 13 isn't that different, might be saving. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of things. There are ways to save money if you're willing to just do a little research. I mean, we see that in the camera world, especially in the lens world. Like, I mean, you guys know I talk about it all the time. I like to buy used glass because I feel like there's a lot of it out there that's in pristine condition. Someone bought it and went past the return window and then decided they didn't like it and never used it hardly. And it's like you could save several $100. So I think on computers, it's always a little bit of a crapshoot. There's something about Apple gives you that euphoric experience of buying it and the whole unpackaging,
peeling the plastic.
It just feels like they have capitalized on the entire experience. And sometimes I actually want to go to an Apple store and buy the product and have them hand it to me in that little drawstring bag and the whole thing. And it's so funny because it's all like up here, but I think you could find something really awesome, slightly used or open box or something.
Well, I know OWC has some great deals on you.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll take a look. All right. So, there was no real resolution there, although all of us seem to kind of agree that we wish that 13-inch was a little bit more exciting.
I agree. Virtually every Apple announcement this year.
Exactly.
I just bought. I was super excited about that, but I wanted to go kind of back in time. The exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Jason mentions he's been using an XPS 15 from 2017, and it's been great. The XPSs are very nice, and they just released the newest 15 and 17-inch, really aimed at creative professionals. They are quite nice as well. So there are options out there. Okay. Fake news, misinformation. It's been going around. I tell you, one of my favorite things lately has been rediscovering the snooze button on Facebook. Oh, I'm just going to snooze you for 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
I have resisted posting or talking, especially since it's not really related to the show. But there's this one bit of information, this one photo that took it too far. Let me share.
I used snooze for the first time ever on Facebook about a week ago.
Oh, yeah?
I always forget about it.
All right. What am I doing here? I want to take this URL over to here. That's the answer for everything right now, isn't it? What am I doing right now? Okay, here we are. It is this picture. This is a baby platypus. Is it showing what I think it's showing? Or is it still just showing us?
It looks a lot like David Carr, actually.
That's just rude.
Oh, I'm so cute. Look at me.
Isn't it that adorable?
Is that fake?
Totally fake. Come on.
That's
not. Here is the reality of what a baby platypus looks like.
Oh my gosh.
That's the thing. The cute one.
Steve, this is what you look like falling asleep to your Star Wars videos.
It's just because it's actually very true.
Just Photoshop a pair of headphones on there.
There you go.
So this thing in the hand, it's some plastic toy.
Oh.
And it just,
that's ridiculous.
I couldn't take that kind of misinformation, and so I had to share. And
it's like smiling too. It's like it's such a toy.
I know.
Take that little toy, and they should put it on the beach in LA. Take a bunch of pictures of it, Photoshop a bunch of people in there, and then tell them it's the beaches of Florida.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sounds good.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
right.
That's funny.
All right. I got a good segue into crap gear. I'm going to share this. Roger actually made me aware of this. He posted this in our Penn Facebook group.
All this today.
This GoPro got swallowed by lava, it survived and recorded everything. So fantastic image here of this mostly melted GoPro. The screen is cracked, but otherwise in decent shape. This tour group takes people out on the lava. They have a video down here of what it recorded right up. I can kind of spoil it for you. Watching lava is awesome. It's definitely on my bucket list, but it just gets closer and closer. And then you can see that the poor little GoPro is on fire, literally burning while it's recording.
It's incredible.
And I bring that up to move into our crap gear segment because this is not a GoPro. There are about 95,000 different versions of knockoff GoPros and the DJI Action Osmo thing too. And I'll just say the ones that are under $200, they're just not worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
I have tried lots of them over the last couple of years. They usually just get sent to me. Please, sir, review this. This one is the iTech Action Pro. You would be better off filming with a potato. Just want to tell you that. They're just terrible.
Oh,
they are absolutely terrible. So that's my first piece of crap gear, knockoff GoPros. David Carr, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I've really racked my brain because I feel like most of the gear I've bought over the years, I've liked it in some capacity or another, and I've tended to buy mostly like with lenses. I buy Nikon. Just because I feel like I know what I research that stuff, and again, like I mentioned earlier, I buy a lot of used stuff. So for what I could pay new for like a Sigma lens, a lot of times I end up buying the Nikon version. Doesn't mean it's better, but it just feels more familiar. But for me, some of the crappiest gear has really been like software and stuff that promised to be great. Like certain, like we mentioned plugins earlier. I bought a set of plugins last year, a couple of years ago, maybe, just on a whim. I was like, I'm going to pay like $80 for this set of plugins, and they were horrible. And it was like presets, I should say, for Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you can't return them, because how do you return something that you just digitally downloaded? They're not going to let, and I even asked, I was like, look, I haven't even, like, I played around with them. Can I just get my money back? And they're like, sorry, we can't give you your money back, which I understand. But I was just like, it just made me so mad that I bought into that. Like, it was literally just these oversaturated, crazy, like, streams of sunlight that you could add to your photo. And none of them worked. None of them were good. And it was like what looked to be a pretty prominent company. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of like wedding photographers probably love it, but I just was like, you gotta be kidding. So, I just like, I bought into it. But as far as like gear goes, like physical stuff, my first good Nikon full frame was the D600. And it was, as far as the camera goes, as far as the images, was fantastic. But that it had this oil on the sensor issue. Like, it would spray oil from the mechanisms on the shutter mechanism would spray oil all over the sensor. Mm-hmm. And I was new to the thing, so I didn't know what was going on. I was like, man, there is so much crap all over my images. And then I read about it, and I had to send it in. It took like 4 weeks for them to fix it, and they didn't send me another camera in the interim. I had to rent another camera to use, and it's just like, and I love Nikon, but I was just like, that was a fail, and you should have taken care of your customers better than that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's all I've got for you.
Yeah, those are both great. Interesting. I want to just make note. We had that show a couple of weeks ago of kind of life-changing gear for us. Mm-hmm. And in my mindset really was the kind of physical gear. And you listed Lightroom, and I was like, yeah, that really works. And the flip side of that are the plugins. Mm-hmm. Some of them really don't. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you got to be careful, folks. I mean, because that stuff, they sell it like it's going to make you this amazing photographer. But I say, if you can't already get your photos to a good place, the preset it's not going to be the one size fits all that you think it is. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're bad. There are times when they can be great, but I find myself rarely using any that I've downloaded. I'm always just making my own. So
yeah. Pam, you asked, is this actually, you gave me one of these knockoff GoPros? No, I passed that on to the kids, and they actually are fairly happy with it. So, sometimes kids are happy with potatoes. But I didn't even test that one. But in general, my experience with them is not so great. Yeah. And to David Carr, the mention of the D600 with the oil spots, our mutual friend, Dalen, her, a stunt woman from down your way, she wrote me the other day, and she said, I have about 3,000 pictures from a cross-country road trip where I was using the Nikon 600, and they have spots all over them because of that issue. What can I do about it? And I said, nothing.
Yeah.
There's just nothing you can do.
It's just, you really have to just deal with it. And I mean, again, that camera, it's funny because that camera got me into photography professionally. So functionally, and the fact that when it did take beautiful pictures, they were awesome. I've got some amazing shots from that camera, but that was a very unfortunate thing. And I get it. Like, companies are not perfect. They create a product. They think it's going to be wonderful. They release it. Something's not right. But at some point you got to own up to it. I had a car that did that one time that was like known for like a major expensive issues. And I finally sold it because I was like, I'm not going to go there. But at some point you've got to acknowledge it and just do what's right. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Steve, you got some Tupperware?
Oh, wow. Power on. One.
Let's see the batteries charged.
These are the walkies that we use. We used to use on McKay trips. They are not the highest quality, but in the McKay's defense, I'm often losing them and dropping them, so they don't want to trust, at least me, to the higher quality ones. But God, they are terrible.
I got to give this thing some credit because it's been sitting in a box now for months. This did happen. Hang on.
It holds a charge. That's the best thing we can say about it. It holds a charge. The range of those is pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
Well, all kidding aside, I've definitely got some just absolute crap that I bought. But first and foremost, it's a cheap tripod.
Ooh,
I had a good one. T3i that I was shooting, and I was kind of starting my professional business and stuff, and I didn't have a tripod. And I wanted to do landscape photography. That wasn't necessarily going to be my business, but that was my passion. And so I went down to Best Buy and I spent like $89.99 on this. I think it was Sun Tour, might have been the tripod and ball head and stuff. And I remember taking a picture of it and texting it to my buddy who was into photography. Like, dude, I just scored, or maybe it was at Costco actually. I just scored $90 on this tripod, and and he didn't even reply back.
Silence.
Yeah, I ended up basically wasting $100 when all was said and done, because I used that thing a little bit and it was just rickety and cheap. And I tell people all the time on tours, like, just save your money. Don't go penny wise and pound foolish on a tripod.
Absolutely.
Buy a really right stuff, carbon fiber, $1,000 tripod. But spend $250 or $300 and get yourself a decent tripod, because this thing was pure crap. And it comes right along with the Mi Photo Air tripod, Toby, that you tested. Mm-hmm. You ended up giving it to me. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really buy that. I was really grateful. And I've kind of taken it on some tours and stuff. But, man, that thing has just been nothing but a nightmare. It just sits on a shelf. Rain covers. There's horrible rain covers out there for your cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Use a shower cap from a cheap hotel room or something.
Yeah. Because
you can end up spending $50 on a rain cover that you can't see any of the controls. You can't get any of the controls on your camera.
Yeah.
It's just miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I got a hot shoe level when I started my real estate photography business.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't actually hold in the hot shoe. It slid in. And anytime you move the camera a little bit, it's like flop out. You can do all that in production.
That's good.
Like I mentioned earlier, my Gary Fong diffuser.
Yes.
I paid like $60 for this thing, I think. And it was the newest version that collapsed down so I could fit it in my bag. And it's just a rubber thing that wraps around your flash with some Velcro. Look, the guy is a marketing genius. He came up with something that I know some people are seeing a lot of benefits from. But there it is. That's it. How much is that thing?
$60.
$60. There we go.
Yep.
So and this was 2012 or 13. So the prices are the same, but I would carry that around. I would take it on tours when I first started teaching and stuff. And it was, oh God, it was just ridiculous. And once I could bounce the flash, 45 degrees behind my head or something, and I get much better light than you using this thing.
Yeah.
It was just a waste of, so I have wasted so much money on crappy gear. And I'm finally at the point not just because I'm a professional photographer with more years of experience now, but I've just gotten to the point where I've wasted so much money.
Mm-hmm.
I do my research. It doesn't mean I need to buy the most expensive thing out there, but I'll maybe test it out or something and then decide that I want to invest in it. And I think of these things as an investment now.
Yeah.
I look at photography as my legacy. I want to do this for the rest of my life, God willing, if I have eyesight. And I'm just sick and tired of buying crappy stuff that just.
Well, that's exactly, man. There's so much of it out there. And I understand, like, in a free market where you've got people who come up with an idea and they're good at marketing and they put it out there and they make it seem like it's going to be awesome. And, but there's like a saying that I go by, and my wife laughs at me when I say it, but like, the bitterness of poor quality lingers long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. And I know that's a lot to say, but it's like, you think, oh, I'm saving all this money. And then you have a piece of garbage and you're like, I wish I had the better one. So then you go buy the better one. So now you've spent the money on the crap gear and the good gear. So you've spent more money than you would have spent on the good gear. And like you said, it's not buying the most expensive. Most expensive does not equal best, but there's a middle of the road, and we live in the day and age of research. You can find out what that middle of the road is, and you can find deals. And sometimes, you've got to like it hurts to pay the money, but you get it and you're done and it's there and you don't think twice about it. And I just think, be careful. Again, don't be, penny wise and pound foolish. Just,
I think where you can go inexpensive, like you said, used glass in good shape is always good glass.
Yeah.
That's a great place to go used and save yourself some money. You don't need the most high-end camera body. A lot of crop cameras right now are producing just awesome images. And rather than, you're better off buying a newer, crop sensor with new technology than a 5D Mark II to get into a full frame.
Right.
So you don't have to get the latest and greatest thing, but man.
Well, and I can attest to, like, I've been the guy who's gone and bought the latest and greatest, and then I've also realized, wow, it wasn't all it was chalked up to be. But then there's this middle of the road between cheap and super expensive, where you're like, this is about right. And that tends to be where a lot of the pros land as well. Instead of having 75 lenses, they have like the 5 lenses that they always use, and they're good lenses,
And then I'm just, when it comes to tripods, you don't have to spend a fortune, but man, please don't show up on a tour with a tripod that cost a fortune back in the 1960s. And that has literally happened to us on tour before. Yeah. Or, something that you paid $50 or $60 for at Costco or Best Buy or whatever. I'm not a tripod snob. You can get a good one for $300. I know that may seem like a lot of money to some people. They easily get up to $1,000. And what a huge difference.
I mean, this is something you're putting your $1,000 or higher investment on.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. And I'll say there are some decent tripods for cheaper on Amazon, but when they break or a part, you need to replace a part or something, my experience is good luck. So again, there's also not only kind of the quality of the good that arrives at your door, but the quality of support that backs up the product as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And David, a short way to say that great quote you said a minute ago, where you like buy the cheap and then you end up buying the expensive. It's called the noob tax. I've experienced it plenty of times. It's where you say, "Oh, I can save myself money here," and then you just like wasted that $50, which could be put towards the more expensive.
That's good.
Yeah. Yep.
I've been seeing the noob tax, and I didn't know what people were talking about, but there you go.
Yeah, that's the same. I love Heather said somehow she got 2 of those Gary Fong diffusers for her birthday, and she doesn't even have a flash. I think those things are often on like gift lists. Like here's something affordable to gift to a photographer in your life. And Steve, you summed it up perfectly. I don't feel that they do anything different that bouncing your flash in an intelligent way would do.
You know what actually talked me out of using my Gary Fong for the last time?
What's that?
Is you, Toby. You and she who will remain nameless were teaching a class at the McKay Photography Academy right after they opened. I think we were going to Yosemite Winter Tour.
That's right. Yep.
And you guys were shooting a lot of weddings back in those days.
Yep.
And talked about bouncing the flash 45-degree angle off of the corner of the wall behind you. And I started doing that, practicing around. I'm like, that is so much better than anything I've done with this diffuser or aiming my flash in different directions. Virtually 90% of the time, I can just bounce it off of the corner of the wall behind me, and I get the best results. And so once you guys were teaching that to the class, and I was listening, and then I went home and practiced it, and I took that. I don't even know where it is. It's in my basement.
You got your leftover Thai food in it in the fridge. Yeah.
It does double
Good.
well.
All right, I got two more real quick. One, I didn't tease this one. I'm saving the one I teased to the very end. This is the cheap drones. These are something else that comes from time to time. And I'll say this, they can be fun to try to fly. They are so incredibly different than a DJI or Autel drone that you push a button and it hovers and waits for further direction. This has no GPS. This has no altitude hold. So you push the stick up, it goes up. You let go of the stick, it comes right back down. This one was sent to me and has voice activation through your phone. And this is where I feel I'm terrible, because Kaz has left me, and Chris has a life. She's not always able to follow me around and record. But the first time I went out in the field and used the voice activation, drone, fly up, nothing. Drone, fly up, drone, and over and over. And then all of a sudden, it literally was just flying straight at my face. And I'm like running, dodging, and it just comes right back down into the grass. And then you 5 times again, drone, fly up, drone, fly up. So they can be fun to try to fly around. This one even has a built-in camera. I think that's it there. Again, it looks like a potato. And it's terrible. They're absolutely terrible. So don't bother. Yeah. But this what looks like a mug, you thought maybe it's a mug, right? I mean, it looks like a lens, but no, it is a vacuum designed to clean your sensor. You mount this to your camera. And here, the giveaway here is it takes 4 AAA batteries. So you got to find those. And then
there you go.
You hear that? And I mean, it blows pretty good, but I feel no suction. And maybe I should do scientific testing where I sprinkle sand or dust on my sensor, count the number of particles, and then mount this and turn it on. But I've had naturally dirty sensors plenty of times. I've mounted this, and I've never, ever been able to count one less dust speck. I don't believe that this thing is capable of drawing a single molecule of dust off a sensor.
I can tell it sucks, though.
Yeah,
of course.
Good.
Yeah, there you
Very
go.
Good.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
So this is
amazing. You surprised me there. I've never seen that, but that's incredible.
This was given to me, like 5 years ago, and I really don't know why I've kept it around to talk about it today. That's it.
Is sitting in a house in Malibu overlooking the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
All the way to
do they even sell them? Let's Google real quick on Amazon. Lens vacuum. I don't know what you would even actually search for.
Gosh,
nothing comes up.
I mean, it's the kind of idea that, like, I'm not surprised somebody came up with it, but the fact that somebody followed through, like, actually took it to, like, that's like the jump to conclusions, Matt, of
office space
camera gear.
Yeah. To conclusions, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's amazing.
I don't know.
You got to hand it to somebody for actually following through. Like, I got an idea and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's not on Amazon anymore, so I don't know. Maybe somewhere else it is still sold or closed. It says open or close. I can take off part of that. I don't know.
And do they sell it with specific lens mounts?
Well, that's another great question. Right. This is a Canon lens mount. So
it's amazing.
Gosh.
Jeez.
Yeah. I don't think it was cheap either. I think they were asking close to $100 for it.
What?
Yeah.
I bet you could get it on never mind. I was gonna mention group, but I won't go.
Right. Yeah. They're probably buried in there somewhere for like $7.99 now. All right. All right.
That's awesome. That tops everything.
I don't know. In the bad way. All
Yes.
right. I think that's it for the show. We picks. Do you guys have any random, totally off topic things that you want to share that you've been into in the last week or two?
Ooh, yes. I have I watched a great show on Netflix called Waco. About the Waco, the whole thing in 1993.
Yeah.
Man, it was like a 6-part series, but it was so intense, and really enjoyed it. You know, it was heart-wrenching, but it was very well done, I thought.
Cool.
And then my wife and I have been watching a show on Apple TV Plus, whatever it's called Trying, and it's a great little British. It's comedy, but it's like drama comedy. So very, very cool little show. So those are two of mine.
Okay. All right. Very good. Steve?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned Apple TV Plus because I have had no interest in it whatsoever. I'm an Apple fan. I really am. But we've got plenty of subscriptions. So I didn't.
Right.
Well, I got my new cell phone and it came with free Apple TV Plus for a year. So I signed up.
Oh, cool.
We are now totally addicted to the morning show.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
It's got a great, I know that it's got a great cast of actors.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Aniston and Steve Carell, but Jennifer Aniston in particular is just phenomenal in that show.
Yeah.
The next one that we want to watch when we finish this is Defending Jacob. It's supposed to have a really, really loyal audience. And then I'll probably watch what you're talking about there, David. I'm really impressed. And
I was skeptical too, but we saw a couple shows on it. I was like, they've done some good stuff here. It's very well done.
Usually a show will take me, 3 or 4 episodes before I really say, okay, I like this and I'll continue watching it. But the morning show was kind of an anomaly. Right after the first episode, I was like, man, I want to see what happens next. They did a really well done show.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Mine is, we actually do have a question, but I can't find my question document at the moment. Kevin, message me your question, why I share my pick. And then if we can answer it real quick before we have to go, I'll do that. Kevin, he did also find the vacuum cleaner, a post about it on some random blog. It actually only sold for $34. This was announced back in August 2014. I'm pretty sure that's when mine arrived. So almost 6 years I've been toting this around.
Named Michael Isles, I hope I'm not botching that name, says $120 on B&H.
Wow.
How about that sensor vacuum?
Okay.
That is a big ripoff.
Jeez. My quick pick is the Lego guy reminded me of this, and Tim's in chat. I think Tim is the one who told me I had to watch it. It's the Lego Masters show on Hulu. I don't know what channel it actually aired on originally. Cool. Yeah. But it is where these different teams of people build Lego things each week. Yeah. And I skipped around and watched a couple of the episodes, and some of them, what they build is just unbelievable. Started rewatching it from the beginning with the kids. It's a fun show without too much manufactured drama, and it involves Legos.
Fantastic.
The grandkids and I watched that. As soon as a new episode was out, we couldn't wait to watch it, and we ended up watching most of them twice. That show is outstanding. I love it.
What show? The Lego show?
Masters. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's
very good.
So I know that Kevin said, what's the difference between a $300 tripod and a $1,000 tripod was one of the questions, Toby, that came through.
That's right. That's the question. Your probably weight is one of the biggest things, I would say. And then thoughtful design touches and how compact it can get. That's what I think you're going to mostly see at the very expensive levels. You're going to see a tripod that is capable of being is very lightweight, yet has a good payload that it can withstand, full of thoughtful design touches that keeps it nice and compact or makes it incredibly useful or usable in all situations. That's the kind of general thought. Anything to add to that?
Well, I would definitely say, that if you're a hobbyist and you're going on some tours and you want to shoot around home and stuff, a $300 tripod is perfectly fine. It's going to You won't have any problems with it. It's going to be a good, solid tripod.
Mm-hmm.
You're professional and you're shooting on a more day-to-day basis, or you're doing like what I do where you're traveling constantly. And I use my tripod on every real estate shoot that I do. That's where the $1,000 tripod really starts to make a difference. It stands out. It's kind of stands out over time and use.
Mm-hmm.
My Really Right Stuff ball head takes no maintenance whatsoever. I've taken it all over the world. I've taken it in totally crappy conditions and just a sponge with some water. I wipe it down and it just works flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Lighter legs and stuff like that. So Toby's absolutely right. It lends itself to weight, but I just think that kind of becomes the difference between a hobbyist and a professional. And I'm not saying that every professional needs a $1,000 tripod, but I am saying that if you're going to use it every single day for years and years and years, and it's an investment, make the $1,000 investment into something.
Yeah, well, and Tim just commented he went from a Me photo to an RSS, or Really Right Stuff head and Gitzo legs, which that's what I've got. And I mean, yeah, I paid for it. Although I did buy my Gitzo used. I'm talking about used gear again. I saved a lot of money buying a used one that looked brand new when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And love it. And now I have it. I don't think about it. I'm never thinking like, well, I need a new tripod, unless I was really getting this like heavy duty gear that like with big heavy lenses and, you know, like some sort of gimbal setup. But for what I'm doing right now, I just, it's there, and I didn't break the bank. I spent more than I would have buying, you know, some budget level thing. But there is a refinement to the way those mechanisms work, like the Really Right Stuff. It's theoretically, you look at it, you're like, there's not a whole lot to this, but it's refined. You know, it's down to the micron level of refinement to where it just works really well. And you're not ever blaming something on that.
The level of support if anything goes wrong.
Right.
Toby mentioned that earlier. That's a big deal if you're using it for your business every single day. But I was just talking to Saeed from Yellowstone, Toby.
Yep.
He wrote me yesterday and he wanted some tripod advice. And I steered him right to the Me Photo Globetrotter.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, look, you're going to spend, $225 to $400, depending on if you go or carbon fiber. And you're going to have something that will last you years and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If you use professionally every single day, I'd say just wait 3 or 6 months if you have to and save up the money and buy a Really Right Stuff ball head and then pair it with like Enduro or Gitzo or Manfrotto legs or something.
Yeah.
Because you will notice a difference with that amount of usage over time.
Well, and it's like Toby said, it depends on what you're putting on it. I mean, if you've just gone out and spent a fortune on a camera and some heavy lenses, don't put that on some garbage, product. I mean, everything's resting on that now. So, but again, it's that middle ground. You don't have to go buy the most expensive, biggest, heaviest, robust thing. There's just a middle ground. And again, you can find so many ways to save money on it. Yeah. You may not save a ton, but you don't always have to pay retail top dollar price for everything. Thankfully.
Ice in chat just said, I save $400 by buying a demo model at an expo. That's a great way to go.
Perfect.
It's kind of like buying used glass. If the glass is scratched up and stuff, you see a used tripod legs that aren't all damaged and whatever, save yourself the money and get it. The tripods are not complex products at all.
Right. And it doesn't even matter if they have a scratch. I mean, they're not even that. I bought my tripod from B&H used, and I mean, I probably saved $200 on a Gitzo, which is a lot of money, and I've been fine with it. So,
yeah. Good advice. And people upstairs must be getting impatient with me because they sent Archer down to round me up.
Yeah,
he's appeared. Archie.
Right.
So is Ollie around, Steve?
I was just looking.
David, I can't remember your dog's name. Sandy?
It's Lottie.
Lottie.
Yeah, I don't know where she is.
Okay.
Ollie, I've got my granddaughter here, and Ollie loves hanging out with the kids. So.
Cute.
Ollie's awesome.
Good. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up. And gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Appreciate it.
As always, thank you. This has been fun.
Good. Chat room, thank you. Appreciate all of your comments and questions. They always make this show so much better, so appreciate that. If you're watching, you're not a Penn member, consider joining. Fantastic deal for new members for a full year for direct.tv/Penn. Just scroll all the way down to that page and you'll see the awesome offer. Plan to be back next week. I don't know what our topic will be yet, but it'll be fantastic and interesting, but probably dogless. So just give you a heads up.
We'll see.
Maybe, who knows?
I'll bring my dog.
All right, everybody, stay safe. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.